Your home and mortgage connection.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
And hello again. Welcome to Ron Siegel Radio. This is the show with no real boundaries as we discuss current events, financial markets, politics, sports, even poking fun at the rest of the media. This is the show that connects the dots of confusion delivered by conflicting media reports. We connect the dots so you know the actions you can take, how your family or business can benefit in current events. Most of all, thank you for joining me. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day. We have a very focused show. We only chat about items that affect the roof over your head, your bank account, and anything I feel would benefit you. And let me remind you, if you ever have any home or finance-related questions, I am the consumer advocate looking out for you, and you can reach out to me directly. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com. Just remember, that's the number you call anytime for assistance. When you call that number, it comes directly to me first. There are operators standing by.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
While I do have a great team when it comes to developing a financing plan, a plan to save you money, I personally work with you, even if you don't have any needs today. Save this number in your phone for future reference. 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. And yes, we are celebrating today. We celebrate every day on Ron Siegel Radio. I love celebrations. So let's see what we've got to celebrate today. It is National Water Park Day. Okay, that's an interesting one. Now, I know the young people like the water parks. I'm just curious, though. Holy cow, that's a pretty fancy one there, Josh. I'm just curious, though, how many people are really going to water parks? You know, I wonder, just because sanitary, you know, everybody's worried about about germs. I mean, when I was little, you know, you drank off the hose, and you wonder, okay, I'm sure that there's not a kid in America that's doing that nowadays. You know, that's just kind of the way it is. So going into a water park where there's a bunch of little ones in there, I don't know. I don't know. I know when we used to go to a public pool, even when my kids were little, that was a long time ago. Now, every once in a while, you'd see a day come around when the pool was off limits for the day. I guess somebody had a little problem in the pool. Okay. So National Water Park Day. I hope you go and have fun. You know, I did go to Disneyland a couple weeks ago, and they told me to sit I've got bad knees. So they said the most space on the particular ride I was going on, they said, sit in the very back. I didn't realize that when you sit in the back of that ride, that's also where you get the most water. They didn't tell me anything about wearing a poncho sitting back there. But luckily, it was nice and warm that day, so we didn't bother. That was nice. Today's also, this is my favorite. I love it. Josh, we should do this one every day. National Milk Chocolate Day. Doesn't help my diet, by the way. 79 pounds as of this morning. 79, pushing that 80-pound mark. National Milk Chocolate Day. What's your favorite milk chocolate? Well, mine's anything that's available. Hershey's, and I guess Snickers doesn't count as a milk chocolate bar. Hershey bar, Ghirardelli, just about any. I'm not picky. Oh well, let's move right along, because otherwise I could sit here talking about chocolate bars all day long and we'd get absolutely nothing done. Is there a problem with that? Let's see what the markets are doing today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 57 points. S&P is up 8.35. NASDAQ is up 56.97. And let's see oil. Oh, oil is up $1.37 a barrel. Ow! Do we want to look at California gas prices? I was on the road this weekend. Thankfully, I had a nice tailwind as I was heading out of town, whatever day that was. I think it was Thursday. So got good gas mileage on the way out of town. Coming home yesterday, we caught all the traffic. We made up for all those headaches. $3.14 a gallon is the national average of a gallon of gasoline. $4.47 is the cost here in the formerly Golden State. $4.39 in Washington, $4.48 in Hawaii. So Hawaii and California, basically the same price. Going to be interesting to see what happens with oil now, because the president's announcement from yesterday, I don't know if you caught that one, but he came to an agreement with the European Union, and one of the big items in that agreement is for them to buy natural gas from the U.S. I think it's $750 billion a year in gas and natural gas from the U.S. I don't think China's going to, or Russia's going to like that one too much, hurt their economy a little bit if they don't have a customer, if they're losing that customer there. But, it's interesting. And we're going to talk in the Mortgage Minute today about where we're going with some of these issues, what's happening with some of the tariff talk. I'm going to suggest to you it's not a big deal, but I'll even give you the data to back up my assertion. 10-year Treasuries up 2.5 basis points this morning. That's on the yield. The mortgage bond is down 11 basis points, which means interest rates are up just a little bit. And we're going to be watching that as well. Just remember, when you talk about interest rates, that's the bond market. By the time it gets to you, it's kind of like tariffs. There's a lot of things that get added in, taken out before it really gets to you. So you can't say, well, a bond at 99.22 can correlate exactly to any kind of a price, because I'm just looking right now at Mortgage News Daily as of July 24th, latest date that they had on here. 6.81 is the rate. Freddie Mac as of July 23rd, 6.74. Mortgage Bankers Association, July 22nd, 6.84. So all these numbers are right in the same time frame, but they're all different. If I were to go to Wells Fargo, they're going to probably be a little bit higher. Bank of America is going to have their rate. The credit union is going to have their rate. I'm going to tell you, in fact, I'm going to have to get this put together for you. What if you want a second opinion? If you've got a loan estimate at any institution, especially if it's not a mortgage broker, mortgage banker, I'm going to suggest you might be overpaying. And if you want a second opinion, I'll tell you straight, we're here 15 years I've been doing this show as a consumer advocate, telling you the straight information, the things that big banks don't want you to know. And I'll tell that to you here too. You send me that loan estimate, rj@ronsiegelradio.com, rj@ronsiegelradio.com, and we'll send you a second opinion. And if you've got the best deal out there, we'll tell you. If you can save some money, we'll tell you that too. And then you make the decision. Do you want to stay on course with where you are, or do you want to alter course? We're going to talk about all that, but I also want to talk to you today about renting versus owning. And I've been chatting with you about this, that there's a lot going on in the marketplace, and there's a lot of folks that are thinking, and you hear all the time, that renting is more affordable than owning and might even be smarter. What do the numbers say? We're going to tell you that in a little workshop we have today. Today's Tale of Two Housing Markets, we'll talk about that as well. And I don't think we did this last week, Josh. Understanding extended care, who pays, who plans, who wins. I don't think we had time for that, so we'll see if we can get that in today as well. You can reach me anytime. Our off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube. Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Are you a veteran, own a home, and need money? The Siegel Lending Team is here to help veterans refinance and get the money they need. The VA 100 lets you borrow up to 100% of your home's value, refinance your mortgages, consolidate credit cards, and lower your payments by an average of $700 a month. And the Siegel Lending Team knows that character means more than a credit score. Call 800-306-1990. That's 800-306-1990. Rate subject to change without notice. Licensed by the California Department of Corporations, NMLS 21037, and DRE number 018694452. You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. 1990. The Mortgage Minute today being brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app. rsrlinks.com/mobile app. If you don't have a mobile app right now, you're missing out, because that gives you all the information you need to figure out, what your principal and interest payment will be. And speaking of principal and interest payments, every day at this time, OBMMI, they provide the most comprehensive, accurate, timely, and interactive analysis of pricing ever conducted in the mortgage industry, calculated from actual locked rates with consumers across 35% of all mortgage transactions nationwide. They don't tell us points paid, points received, or the APR. They only tell us the number you need to put in that mortgage calculator that I just told you about, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. What did rates look like on Friday? Well, let's take a look. The 30-year conventional, 30-year fixed, 6.784. That was up. Jumbo 30-year fixed, 6.932. That was down. FHA 30-year fixed, 6.566. That was up. VA 30-year fixed, 6.442. That was up. USDA 30-year fixed, 6.404. That was down. Mixed bag on Friday. But hey, something, like I said, those are good guides for you, and I give you them as a guide, but you have to know that every situation is unique, and more importantly, what is the right strategy for you? I had a conversation with somebody last week, and they decided they were going to go and do exactly what I share with you and get the second look. And they came back to me and said, "Hey, Ron, they've got a better opportunity." And I said, "Really?" I said, "Let's take a look at it." So they told me what the numbers were. And I said, "Okay, you're paying $16,000 to save $3,600. And then it doesn't meet your goals." So I said, "Okay, well, if you want to spend an extra 12 grand, I guess that might be good for you." And I explained the whole situation to him. And then I showed him where the other opportunity or presentation only showed part of the story. I shared the numbers: principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. The other one came out like $1,500 a month payment cheaper. They didn't want to show them the interest, the taxes, and the insurance. Okay, so what does that tell you right from the start? Hey, let's see what rates are doing today. Let's see what the markets are doing today before I get into that. So we've got the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 42. The S&P 500 is up 7. The 10-year Treasury is up 2.6 basis points, 4.414. And the mortgage bond now is down 12 basis points. Remember, whenever the mortgage yield goes up, the bond goes down. When bond goes down, yield goes up, all that. I think I just said the same thing the opposite ways, but just remember it's a teeter-totter. So when whatever way the bond is going, the yield is going the other way. It's mathematics, it's not opinions. What's driving this? Well, we've got a busy news week this week, but I'm going to tell you there's not a whole lot of news driving anything today, but I will share with you that the tariff talks. So the U.S. and EU came to a trade agreement that raises previous average tariff on import goods from the EU from 1.5% to 15%. We get about 14% of our goods from the EU, So the 13.5% difference on the 14% of the goods we import means we're going to see a 1.9% increase in regards to inflation figures. But wait a minute, don't let that record scratch. Yeah, so that's just kind of a misleading number because you have to understand the whole thing. It's important to remember there's only on the imported cost, not on the total cost of the good. A lot of the cost will be shared down the line, but also the markups from the distributor to the wholesaler to the retailer are not tariffed. We estimate the EU goods will likely cost the consumer 0.2% to 0.3% more. Why? Well, if you go and buy a $50 widget, you're paying retail. The distributor probably paid $30 for it. The wholesaler, the importer, might have paid $10 for it. The tariff only applies to the imported price, not the price you paid. And that's why we say the consumer might see 0.2 to 0.3. Now, do you think that if it means selling the widget or not selling the widget, somebody along the way might eat that 0.2 to 0.3 and you never see it? Just throw that out there. Big win for the U.S. automakers. Previously, the EU was imposing a 10% tariff on our cars, which they reduced to 2.5%. On EU car imports, we reduced from 27.5% imposed in April to 15%. So some of those numbers are going to come down. So you might see those new luxury German cars coming down a little bit in price. Several big deals have been getting done with the new baseline tariff rate about 15%. The next one, big one in focus is China, and Besant and his Chinese counterparts are meeting in Stockholm, Sweden, as we speak. Very important news week that could have big implications for the bond market and mortgage rates. The JOLT job openings report is expected to show a decline in openings of roughly 200,000, while the ADP and BLS reports are expected to show 78,000 and 110,000 job gains, respectively. The BLS is also anticipated to show unemployment rate rise from 4.1 to 4.2%. The Fed's also meeting, and while they are not expected to cut rates, their comments will be important. Lastly, the Fed's favorite measure of inflation, PCE, personal consumption expenditures, will be released on Thursday, and the market is expecting both headline and core inflation to show anywhere between 0.2 and 0.3% inflation numbers. And that's why, if you've been watching, you've seen a lot of commentary from the president that there's no inflation and jobs are tenuous at best. Why is the Fed still being restrictive? That's the Mortgage Minute, brought to you by rsrlinks.com/mobile app, rsrlinks.com/mobile app. Hey, you're watching right now, and I want to get back to what I started talking about earlier. And we're gonna set up a link for you, probably as soon as the show's over. It's going to be rsrlinks.com/second look. Second look. And what we're going to really be doing is trying to make sure, as a consumer advocate, we're doing our job for you. We're looking out there and we're saying, something, are you getting the best opportunity you have? Is it best for your family? And thanks, Josh. I appreciate you getting that on there. Are you getting what's best for your family? I'm going to submit to you, interest rates have been at this level for the last couple of years. We thought they would go down. They haven't. But does that matter? Well, right now there's a lot of pent-up demand, and there's a lot of people that are out there saying, something, I'm getting divorced. I can't keep my 3% rate. Or, I've got an estate to settle, and we're going to sell this house one way or another. So we need to get a new loan on it. We can't keep the same loan. So I'm going to say to you, something, let's take a look at what you've got. Let's look at your strategy and make sure that you've got the right strategy. If you've gone somewhere else, there's a lot of great people out there, and we have no problem telling you who the great ones are, but there's also a lot that mislead. And with the rates have being where they are for the last few years, I know it's weeded out a lot of people out of the industry. But as a certified liability advisor, it's our job to help you build wealth through strategic debt management. Now, I spent a lot of time last week in a course that when I was looking online at the people that were in the course with me, there wasn't one lender, one mortgage person in the course. What was the course on? It was all about tax strategies. And I'm going to tell you that I think it's Wednesday or Thursday. I think it's Wednesday that the gentleman who taught the course is actually going to be with us on Ron Siegel Radio. And, he's not going to be able to go over everything that we talked about in the course because it was an 8-hour course. So in the 25 or 27 minutes he's with us on Wednesday, there's no possible way for him to give us all that information. But if you're making W-2 income, he'll tell you, or he told us in the course, how to minimize your taxes strategically and legally. If you've got a family foundation, if you've got a family business, if you're self-employed, there are, as I've shared with you many, many times, there is one tax code in the US. There's two tax systems, one for the informed and one for the uninformed. Most people are not informed. I'm going to go so far as to say most CPAs are tremendous at filling out forms and doing the documentation. But if their code of ethics and their regulators do the same thing to them that FINRA did to me when I was licensed as a Series 7 licensee around the turn of the century, I no longer have that license. They would say that you cannot say certain things to people. It's against their rules. Well, who do I serve? FINRA? Well, if I'm a licensee, I have to follow the rules. I'm not a licensee, so I can tell you certain things that you can then go to your CPA, you can go to your tax planner, you can go to your financial planner, and if you ask them, then they can confirm what I'm telling you. They're not allowed to tell it to you. They're not allowed to initiate that conversation. So we'll be the one to give you the conversation, and make sure you go and check it out and make sure you ask them. And they'll tell you that I'm right. Why will I tell you that I'm right? Because I'm going to tell you exactly where to find what I'm saying in the code. So they don't have to look a lot and say, I can't find that. The code's 90,000 pages. When I say go use section 179A or section 280 or section 199 or whatever other sections or codes we're talking about, they can go and look at that and say, the guy on the radio knew what he was talking about. So when we talk about your mortgage and I say to you, you need a second look, well, that's important. Why? Well, just like the family that I talked to last week, I said, I share data with our clients, with the families we serve. My family gets paid, or my family eats by us doing loans. Our team gets paid by us doing loans. So I don't have time to consult everybody when they're not one of the families that are working with us. You're listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, today's tale of two housing markets, understanding extended care, who pays, who plans, who wins, and rent versus own. We'll talk about that in detail as well. You can reach me anytime, off-air number 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or ronsiegelradio.com, facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you miss any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Confused about the home buying process? Or curious how much you really know about buying a home? Take the first Home IQ quiz to test your understanding of buying a home. Created by the nonprofit First Home IQ, this 5-minute quiz will give you a score, what you missed, and why. Take the quiz in 5 minutes at rsrlinks.com/FHIQ and find out what you need to know about buying your first home. That's rsrlinks.com/FHIQ.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's Ron.
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. The real-time real estate segment today being brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. Let's see, what do we have today? Today's Tale of Two Housing Markets. That is our subject. Depending on where you live, the housing market could feel red hot or strangely quiet right now. The truth is, local markets are starting to move in different directions. In some places, buyers are calling the shots, and others, sellers still hold the power. It's a tale of two markets. Let's take a look and see if you want to know about your market. That's the key thing right here. You need to go to rsrlinks.com/market report, rsrlinks.com/market report, and you'll be able to see what your market is. What's a buyer's market versus a seller's market? In a buyer's market, there are more homes for sale and not as many buyers. That means homes sit longer, buyers have more negotiating power, and prices tend to soften as a result. It's simple supply and demand. On the flip side, a seller's market happens when there aren't enough homes available for the number of people looking to buy them because buyers have to compete with each other to get the house they want. That leads to faster sales, multiple offers, and rising prices. Right now, both of these scenarios are playing out depending on where you are. So how do you know what kind of market you're in? Lean on a local real estate agent. I know them all, or at least I have a housing report card on every one of them that are doing business. They'll explain what's really happening in your area based on these market conditions. You can go and talk to them from an educated standpoint if you simply go and get that very simple report, rsrlinks.com/market report, rsrlinks.com/market report. Let's see, the number of buyers and sellers by region. One of the biggest factors impacting each market is the number of active buyers and sellers, according to Redfin. Here's what that looks like by region. And if you're watching us on RonSiegelRadio.tv, any of our socials, or the ABC News and Talk, AM 1490, FM 98.1 video feed, you are seeing that chart that we're talking about. Let's take a look at it. The buyer and seller dynamics have shifted. The Northeast, okay, so there's more buyers. The Midwest, more buyers. South, there's more sellers. West, more sellers. Today, the Northeast and Midwest are more likely to be sellers markets. Buyers still outnumber sellers there, and that keeps things tilted in favor of homeowners. Generally speaking, homes are selling faster and prices are rising in those areas. But the South and West are leaning more towards buyers markets. There are more sellers than buyers, which means more listings to choose from and less competition among buyers. That's a major shift from a few years ago when sellers had the advantage almost everywhere. Today, your local conditions matter more than ever, and they can vary even from one neighborhood to the next. Price trends mirror the buyer-seller divide. When inventory and buyer activity shift, so do prices. In places where demand still outpaces supply, like much of the Northeast and Midwest, prices are continuing to climb. But in parts of the South and West, where inventory is up and demand is cooled, prices are softening, and that's a plus for buyers looking to negotiate in those areas. Here's the latest data from Resi Club to show how this divide is shaking out across the top metros in the country. Another graph for you. And you can see home price trends vary by area. This is why it's the tale of two markets. Roughly half of the top 50 metros are up and half are relatively flat or down. That said, don't panic if you own a home in a market where prices are dipping. Most homeowners have built significant equity over the past few years, and chances are you have too. So you're likely to come out way ahead when you sell. Why local insights matter, even regions that lean more buyer-friendly right now. There will be cities, towns, and even neighborhoods that don't follow the regional trends. That's why an agent's local market expertise is so important. They can help you understand what's happening all the way down to a zip code level, including whether your area is favoring buyers or sellers, how to set the right price or craft an offer strategy based on local trends, the best way to make your move happen no matter what happens in the market. In a market where conditions vary this much from place to place, success starts with understanding every aspect of your local area. Let's connect so you've got an expert in your corner who knows exactly how to guide you through your market wherever you are. And don't forget, I have these scouting reports for all the agents that are doing business in your area. Just give me a call and we'll put that together for you and just print it out or we'll PDF. I guess I'm dating myself. We'll PDF it and send it to you so that you have that. That is the Real-Time Real Estate segment brought to you by rsrmoney.com, rsrmoney.com. You also need to make sure that you have an idea of what the home value is. What is your home value? If you don't know, shame on you, because I tell you how to get it every day for free. rsrlinks.com/homewealth, rsrlinks.com/homewealth. That's how we tell you, you know what your value is of your property. And Josh just jumped ahead of me here. rsrlinks.com/what's your number. If you're thinking about restructuring your home loan, you gotta know your number. What is it going to make that's going to make you or encourage you to go and restructure that home loan so that you can become wealthier in your market? rsrlinks.com/what's your number. That's just the way to get it. So Josh, I think we're going to do our Borrow Smart right now so we can do our workshop in the D block. Borrow Smart brought to you by gethomeselect.com, gethomeselect.com. Understanding extended care, who pays, who plans, who wins. Hey friends, Ron Siegel here with another dose of reality, wisdom, and strategy from your favorite place to get educated and empowered right here on Ron Siegel Radio. Today's segment might make you a little uncomfortable, but I'll make you a lot more prepared. We're talking about extended care, not the kind you get after a car crash. We're talking about what happens when the calendar keeps flipping and your body or your spouse's starts needing more help than you planned for. Here's the sobering stat. 7 out of 10 people over the age of 65 will need extended care services. That means if you're listening with your spouse, flip a coin. Actually, you both might need it. This isn't just a medical issue, it's a financial earthquake. If you're not ready, and let me tell you, pretending it'll never happen is not a strategy. It's a liability waiting to land. What is extended care? Now, extended care isn't a single thing. It's a range of services from helping with daily activities like dressing and bathing to intensive medical assistance from skilled personnel. It can happen at home, at an assisted living center, or in a full-on skilled nursing facility. And let's squash a myth. It's not just for the elderly. Accidents, chronic conditions, and life's curveballs don't check your date of birth before showing up. The cost breakdown, let's talk money. According to Genworth's 2024 data, the national average cost of a skilled nursing facility is $120,000 and $304 per year. $120,304 per year assisted living. Ow! If you're looking at $66,126 annually. Ooh. Wow. Want to stay at home with a health aide? That'll run you $34 an hour. And if you need a licensed nurse, kiss that rate goodbye. This is why people burn through their nest eggs without ever buying a yacht or taking the grandkids to Disneyland. Who pays for this? Here's where it gets dicey. Many families just default to self-insuring, not because it's the best choice, but simply because they simply didn't plan. The fallback becomes adult children stepping in to help, and that leads to stress, burnout, and strained relationships. The truth is, relying on family is a gamble, not a plan. There are two ways to fund extended care. Self-insurance, you pay out of pocket using your savings, retirement, or home equity. Extended care insurance, you transfer the risk to an insurance company. Now, both options have pros and cons, but not choosing anything is the worst option of all. Why planning matters? Look, when I talk to families, what I hear over and over again is, I don't want to be a burden. I want to preserve my dignity. I want to stay independent as long as I can. Planning for extended care can help you do all of that. Whether you're 55 or 75, this is a family conversation, not just with your spouse, but with your advisor, your insurance professional, and yes, even your kids. Because if you don't have a plan, someone else will be forced to make one for you under stress. The Certified Liability Advisor angle, your hidden advantage as a Certified Liability Advisor. My role is to help families build wealth through strategic debt management and look beyond rate sheets and retirement projections. We look at risks holistically. That includes healthcare, housing, taxes, and yes, long-term care needs. A good retirement plan isn't just about income. It's about insulation, insulating your wealth, your relationships, and your choices from future shocks. What you can do today, here's your takeaway. If you're nearing retirement or already in it, ask yourself, do I have a plan for extended care? If the answer is no, don't wait. Start the conversation today. I can even point you to some trusted professionals who specialize in this space. And if you're unsure where to begin, we offer a 30-second liability checkup that can start the process right now at rsrlinks.com/Sora, rsrlinks.com/Sora. That's all for today's segment. Don't let extended care be the blind spot that bankrupts your legacy. I am Ron Siegel, reminding you that health isn't just what you earn, it's what you preserve. Join me next time on Ron Siegel Radio, and until then, be well, be wise, and as always, borrow smart. That is the Borrow Smart segment brought to you by GetHomeSelect.com, GetHomeSelect.com. You are listening to Ron Siegel Radio, discussing your real estate, current events, and the financial markets. When we come back, renting versus owning. What is the best option for you? All that and more. Reach me anytime. Off-air number, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990, or RonSiegelRadio.com, Facebook.com/Ron Siegel Radio. And if you missed any part of our broadcast, Ron Siegel 1 on YouTube, Ron Siegel, the numeral 1 on YouTube. Stay tuned. We'll be back in just a few.
Ron Siegel Radio. Your home and mortgage connection.
Do you know a homeowner experiencing divorce? Do you know a real estate reference and the divorce decree could cost tens of thousands of dollars? A certified divorce mortgage planning and real estate report could save you thousands of dollars, and it's free from your local certified divorce lending professional. Reach out to Ron today. RonIsMyLender.com. Again, RonIsMyLender.com. Licensed under NMLS 217037, Equal Housing Lender.
You're listening to Ron Siegel's Home and Finance Show with local and national expert Ron Siegel. Now, here's...
Welcome back to Ron Siegel Radio. Within every market, there are solutions as well as tremendous opportunities. You just need some trusted guidance. That is my message, and I will be delivering it every day on Ron Siegel Radio. Or anytime at 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990. Got a workshop for you today. If I can figure out how to share my screen, I will do it. It worked wonderfully when we were going through and doing it in practice this morning, but let's see if I can get it to show up right now. I think I just did it pop up, Josh? I don't know if there we go. Okay, cool. So we sometimes it's fun when things work like they're supposed to. So renting versus owning. We hear a lot of folks right now, especially some of the media, that are out there saying, hey, you know something? Why don't you just go and rent a house? It's cheaper. But is it really? So let's talk about that. What I've done here is I took a house, and I know that we are in Orange. I'm broadcasting from Orange County. Orange County, San Diego County, LA County. You're looking at over $1 million is the median home price. Riverside, San Bernardino, you're a little bit lower. So I just took an $800,000 number. Not for any reason other than that's what I did. So I looked at an $800,000 number, and for the similar property, you're probably looking at about $3,900 in rent. So what did we do there? Let's take a look and see what some of these numbers look like. And we're going to take a look at payment to start with. So when we look at the rental side, we're looking at about $3,925. You got to have insurance regardless. Now we take that $800,000. And again, a lot of the numbers I'm going to tell you, I don't know whether they're going to pertain to you or not, because I don't know your situation. I'm going to also tell you that there are some options that will save you money. And then the interest rates I took, I just grabbed some numbers from last Friday that were very, very generic numbers. You may be able to do better than that if you call the team. Conventional loan on a purchase price of $800,000 or FHA at $800,000. I don't give you just half numbers. I tell you the property taxes, the insurance that we estimate, and what the mortgage insurance would look like on everything. So if you look at all these different numbers, it's pretty simple that we're looking at, and I'm going to I'm going to uncolor these things. Rent, we talked about that, $3,925. That $800,000 conventional loan using a interest rate in there. And what did I use for an interest rate? 6.75. We just kind of grabbed Friday's numbers. That'd be a 7.133 APR. You're looking at a $58.49 payment. That's principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Remember that insurance and taxes alone are about $1,000 a month, just on the taxes, insurance. Okay, so let's go back and look at these numbers. If we go with the FHA, now I think when Josh gave us the FHA number earlier, it was lower than what I put in here at 6.5%. I think that was maybe it is 6.5. But that one there, 7.289 is the APR on that one. Now, when you're going FHA, we can actually go with a smaller down payment. So what did we do here? We just went with a 3.5% down payment. Now, when we look at 3.5% down payment, we're looking at a higher payment because we've got a larger loan amount. So we've got $58.49 principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and mortgage insurance. On the FHA, we've got a $63.17. You say, Ron, look at those numbers. They're way above the rent number. Okay, but are they? Are they better for you? Which way is more efficient to you? Because we're looking at all of these different numbers, and I don't know why we didn't take the points out on that one. We should have had the point. Should be no points. So let me see if I can just modify that real quick for you and get rid of the points, because one thing that we really like to do is right now in the environment that we're in, there's not a lot of good reason for us to be paying points. Now, if you can get the seller to give you a buy down, great. That is a beautiful strategy. But right now, I'm suggesting to people, don't pay points. Why would I say don't pay points in this market? Well, the fact of the matter is that interest rates will probably be lower in the not too distant future. Why do I say that they'll be lower in the not too distant future? Well, I've got 100% certainty that we're going to have a new Fed chairman May of next year or thereabouts, because the current Fed chair, his term expires. So if his term is expiring, then we're going to have a new one. The only reason I say that the only reason I'm hedging is because we don't know if they'll be confirmed by that time. So if they're not confirmed, then it could be that we don't have a new Fed chair by that time. But it'll be very soon thereafter if we don't. So when we look at this 800,000 with these 720,000, if my screen will populate here, we'll be able to get this number corrected. We don't want to have points in a market like this. So I'm going to change that in here so that it populates correctly, and it should correct on our screen here in just a second so that we have the right numbers. So what I want you to see here is that your payment is going to be significantly different than what it really shows when we look at everything. So let's go and take a look at more info and take a look at our closing costs. Closing costs right here. So you can see the cash to close. Yes, you need some money to buy. That's 86,000 is our cash to close on the conventional loan. Get help from mom and dad. Or you can wonder why this is not. Okay, well, it's for some reason it's 33.5 is our cash to close on the FHA. Now, our friends at the lending team have some options for you to get down payment assistance that can bring that probably down to about $20,000, maybe a little less. But just think about some of these things. $800,000 home and you're at $20,000 as your down payment, you might be looking pretty good there. Now, what else do we have to deal with? So we saw that our payments are higher, but let's take a look further. Our rent at the end of 36 months, you've spent $148,000. What do you have to show for it? Receipts and an empty bank account. But you've paid $24,600 on that conventional loan. That part of those payments is your money. It's going into your equity. $28,142 on the FHA loan. So this is wealth. This is gone. Nothing to show for it. Now, 13 years later, what are we looking at in net worth? Now, net worth comes about by looking at the appreciation of the property and the principal that we've paid on each of these. Well, if you had that conventional loan, your net worth is $560,000. Oh, wait a second. Net worth is 961 or 915. Here it's zero. Now, over that time period, because of the tax benefits of owning, again, consult your tax professional. You've got a $720,000 cost on the rent after 13 years. Because there are rent increases, you've got a $560,000 cost after the tax benefits on the conventional and a $610,000 cost. So you can see you're better off by almost $1 million by going into that number by looking at buying versus renting in 13 years. Now, when you rent goes up. When you buy, if you're using that 30-year fixed rate loan, that's going to go nowhere or go down because you can restructure anytime you want to. So you can see there, your net worth is far better off. Now, we've got it. I know we're running short on time. In fact, I'm probably already out of time. But let's take a look at a rent versus own chart here, John. Oh, he's ahead of me. Big decision. Here's a little help. Now, when you go to our rent versus own, rsrlinks.com/RVO, everything that I'm showing you here is in that model for you. rsrlinks.com/RVO. You can see all this collateral. $800,000 home, 10% down payment, 6.5 interest rate, APR of 6.875. You can see that there. Adjusted tax payment, $505. If you look, owning $128,947 versus renting $130,000, you've got a 2-year, 8-month break even. 2 years and 8 months. Now look at your equity. Oh, wait, you don't have any equity when you're renting because you're paying someone else's mortgage. $216,151. If you sell in 2 years and 8 months, you're going to have $152,000 coming back to you. So think about all those numbers because that's what you're comparing when you're looking at the rent versus own comparison. And that's why I tell you in this workshop, you got to know your numbers or else you're just spitting in the wind. As always, I ask, set that first radio preset button to come back here and join Ron Siegel Radio, where we only speak about items affecting your house and your bank account. Thanks to all of our sponsors. A big thanks to Josh and Sean who are engineering us today. And of course, a special thanks to you for spending a little bit of your day with us. That's all for Ron Siegel Radio. Again, if you have any questions or to meet any of our guests, give me a call anytime, 800-306-1990, 800-306-1990 at ronsiegelradio.com. And remember, make a lot of money so you can help a lot of people and have a lot of fun. Have a great day. We'll talk to you next time on Ron Siegel Radio.